Hi everybody, I'm Craig and welcome to Xbox 360 Retro. I have been collecting over the last 3 months or so every single launch game that came out during the launch window of the Xbox 360. I appreciate a couple of these did come out slightly after the console launched, but some of them have been pretty tricky to track down and have been rather expensive. I'm looking at you, Tony Hawk's and Need for Speed Most Wanted, but we have managed to get all of them. And this one, Dead or Alive 4, came out slightly at the end of the launch window. I think it was sort of early December time, certainly in North America. So let's take a look at each one of these and chat a little bit about what we're going to be doing on the channel. So the first three I've got out on the bench here are Dead or Alive 4, which I didn't have when it launched. I have played Dead or Alive 3 on the Xbox, which I will do a little bit of video footage when I'm comparing how much of a leap, a transition it was between the old Xbox games and the 360 games. Dead or Alive 4, not played that one before, looking forward to getting stuck into that. Peter Jackson's King Kong, I didn't get that on launch either. From what I've read about this, yes, there are some improvements on the 360 version, but it very much is a PS2 Xbox game that was, I suppose, high-resed or HDified for the 360. And then there is Ridge Racer 6 here that I've got unboxed. This one I didn't play at launch, but I do love Ridge Racer. And I do remember seeing some video footage of this, and it looks absolutely stunning. And I'm hoping that this is one of those sort of hidden gems amongst the launch lineup that probably still stands up and plays a very good game even now. So let's move on to one that I did get at launch, AMP 3. Now, I can't remember if I got this on launch day or slightly after launch day, but I did play the original Amped on the Xbox. I can't remember if I played Amped 2, but I definitely played the original Amped, which I believe was a launch game for the original Xbox. And this one, I remember the graphics being quite impressive at the time with sort of snow deformation and all that sort of stuff. And I remember it sort of having this classic character. So I'm looking forward to playing it again. I think it will have held up reasonably well. I suppose it all depends on how easy it is to perform the tricks and the moves, but we'll see what that looks like once I get it out on the 360. Now, I definitely bought this one, Call of Duty 2, on launch day, and I remember playing the campaign through from start to finish and loving every moment of it. And I haven't played this game in 20 years, so I'm very much looking forward to booting this one up and remembering how good this campaign was at the time compared to other first-person shooters. Condemned. I didn't get this on launch. I got this shortly after launch, swapping out Perfect Dark Zero, trading it in and picking this one up. I really enjoyed this game. Condemned, you play as kind of like a cop, and you're hunting down some serial killers, and it's all kind of a bit murky and a bit dark. And I remember the graphics being quite good, and there was loads of like little PDA devices and stuff you used. And I think a lot of the melee combat was using like rods and bars and things like that. And I just remember it being quite good. I mean, it carries an 18 rating, so it's pretty graphic, or it certainly was at the time. But I remember having a lot of fun with this. I remember it being quite scary as well, but a very, very good launch game. So the 360 pushed quite a few sports games at launch. FIFA 06, Road to the FIFA World Cup, was one of them. I remember getting this on launch day, and I don't think it stuck around for too long because you only had access to the World Cup, or the national teams that were on their way to the World Cup, and you did a sort of World Cup qualifier, and then you played the World Cup. I remember there being a Road to the World Cup game on the PlayStation, which I think was very popular. I was kind of hoping that this FIFA 06 version would recapture some of that magic, but unfortunately it didn't quite do it. And I don't think the graphics on this are going to have held up. I think some of these EA games, the trailers were very, very impressive. When it came to the actual games on launch, they weren't as good as the original trailers. Here's one that I didn't pick up at launch. I don't remember playing this. I remember seeing videos of it and thinking, that looks like a high definition version of an Xbox or PlayStation 2 game. And I very much think that's the way Gun came across. Again, I'm looking forward to getting this on the console and taking a look at it and seeing what it's like and how it lives up today. But I don't think this is going to be a particularly good one, much like that King Kong one we looked at a minute ago. I think Gun's going to be very similar to that. Now, I didn't get Cameo at launch. I did play Cameo. I think it was sort of in the spring of 2026. I picked this up and played it through. It was all right in terms of a game. I don't remember much about it, if I'm honest. I can't really remember the mechanics and how it worked. But I do remember playing it. So it didn't stick around. It certainly didn't leave a lasting memory. But I am looking forward to playing this. And I might let my daughter have a go on this one as well. Now, Madden 06 blew me away with the trailer that they put out for this thing. I remember it had the big EA HD logo on it, and they tried to sort of sell us that high definition was the future. The graphics, I remember being very impressive. I got this at launch. I think I enjoyed this more than FIFA, but I don't think it survived much past maybe a couple of weeks at launch. We had a bit of a play with it, and then we moved on to other things because I remember the graphics just not being quite as impressive. I do think that when it came to the next iteration of the EA Sports games, EA really got their head around some of the system quirks, and the graphics did start to improve quite quickly after, but I remember this being quite disappointing. Here's one that I didn't play at launch, NBA 2K6. Now, I do have a slight problem with this. I don't think this is going to work out of the box on my Xbox 360 that I've got, because I need to change it to a 50 hertz PAL signal, and I've only got HDMI inputs on the TV, so there is a workaround for that I'm working on at the minute to try and get this to play. But I remember hearing a lot of good things about these. I think this and NHL are supposed to be quite impressive games, so I am looking forward to taking a look and playing these. The presentation's supposed to be quite good. I remember ESPN 2K5 NFL being very impressive on the Xbox, so I'm looking forward to see how this plays. What I'm not looking forward to seeing how it plays, however, is NBA Live 06, which I remember having terrible reviews back in the day. And again, another one of those that EA probably bigged up and said about how good this was going to be, the next generation of video games, and then it probably turned out not to be the case. So yeah, probably not looking forward to playing this one, but we'll give it a go because we're going to play all of them. Need for Speed Most Wanted. I think this was a HD version of an Xbox and PlayStation 2 game, which I didn't play back in the day. I don't think it's going to be particularly great. What has really frustrated me about this is I do have a copy of the game. However, the disc is absolutely trashed and it does not play in the Xbox 360. And a copy of this game at the minute is going for around about 50 to 60 pounds. And I'm not entirely sure I want to play it that badly. So it might be the one that gets away when it comes to this Xbox 360 launch review. We'll see if I can track down a reasonable priced copy of this between now and November, but I'm not holding out too much hope. But if you have got a copy of Need for Speed Most Wanted that you don't want, get in touch with me. NHL 2K6, another one which I think is going to be quite impressive. Remember hearing good things about this. I am looking forward to giving this a go. I've got that same 50 hertz problem that I've got to resolve. But once I fix that up, this one gets good reviews and I think it will be reasonably impressive. Perfect Dark Zero. So Xbox sold us the dream. They'd invested in Rare, and Perfect Dark Zero was going to be the first big game. You know, they were revitalizing Perfect Dark, and I was so disappointed with this game. I remember returning this back in the day and getting condemned, as I mentioned earlier. I am looking forward to giving it another go. 20 years on and not having that same expectation that this has been bigged up to be the next big thing. I find it incredibly ridiculous that some of these games can be picked up for £1 or £2 these days, a couple of bucks for you guys out in the US. whereas we'd have dropped, what, 50, 60 pounds on these games back in the day when they came out. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing this again without any of that pressure of a launch title and spending big money on it. So for me, this was the game that really made me want to get an Xbox 360 at launch. Project Gotham Racing 3. Now, I played Project Gotham Racing 2 an awful lot on the original Xbox, and I put hours and hours and hours into this game. And I think this was the one that had Geometry Wars evolved in it as well, which was quite impressive. That little arcade game that you could play in the corner of the garage. This game is brilliant. Fantastic launch title. To me, arcade races are a bit of a thing of the past, and I am really looking forward to going back and revisiting this and seeing if it's as good as I remember it being back in the day. I have never played Quake 4, and I am not entirely sure what to expect. I'm thinking it's going to be similar to Doom, but we shall see. I don't remember this having particularly great graphics back in the day. It didn't drag me in. I mean, it's software renowned for getting quite a lot out of systems, and their later games like, is it Rage they did on the system, and the Dooms, and yeah, they did some good stuff, but I haven't got much hope on this one. But we'll see. We're going to do a little playthrough, and we'll do a little review, and we'll see what we think of it 20 years on from launch. Now, my memory is a little bit fuzzy with Tiger Woods PGA Tour 06. I remember playing a huge amount of Tiger Woods back in the day, but I've got a feeling that I played an awful lot of Tiger Woods on the original Xbox, not on the Xbox 360. I got a feeling this would be reasonably good. I don't know much about it. I can't remember picking this one up back in the day. I might have done at some point. I think I might have had it in the collection, but we played an awful lot of Tiger Woods on the Xbox, and I think the novelty of it had worn off. By the time I got to 360, I was craving some different experiences, so I don't remember playing it. But we will find out whether I recall playing it when we get to doing this later on in the year. And another Activision game, I think this is 4 Activision games at launch on the Xbox 360. I don't remember this one, didn't play it. This was not easy to get hold of because they were, well, they're quite expensive copies of American Wasteland, or they were. Again, I think this is another one of Activision doing its, will up-res an Xbox game and a PlayStation game and put it out on the Xbox 360 and hope that people buy it on that new console. I don't remember this being particularly great. We will play it and we will find out what we think of it. So there we go. A nice big stack of Xbox 360 launch games for me to enjoy. I think the ones that I'm looking forward to playing the most, Ridge Racer 6, can't wait to give that a go. I'm looking forward to playing AMP 3, Call of Duty 2, Project Gotham Racing 3 up there. And you know what? I am looking forward to having a knock on Tiger Woods as well. I think that was not a bad launch collection. And we're going to play these for each one of them, probably for about an hour, maybe slightly longer. And we'll do a little review as to how I think these games have stood up over the test of time. And all of this content is going to be up on the channel at the same time when we get to the 20th year anniversary of the Xbox 360. My plan then is that I've actually got an awful lot of titles from 26 and from 27, and I'm going to actually play them out in real time as they launched. So, you know, the one that I won't be playing immediately will be Dead or Alive 4, because that came out around about, I think it was December time. So I will hold that off and play that in December. But the rest of these will all be played as they launched on the Xbox 360. And then what I've started to do is I've started to collect some of these other games that we will play. Burnout Revenge came out, I think it was in the March. So this was about 4 or 5 months after launch, but I'm going to play this as a 2006 rather release. So I will play it in 2026 around about March, and we'll do it 20 years on. We'll do a 20-year retrospective look at Burnout Revenge, which I will be honest with you, I did stick in the Xbox the other day and played, and it is brilliant. But this is the whole point. I want to look at these games with a modern lens on it. 20 years on, are they still playable? Can I still enjoy them? And part of the reason for that is this little stack of games here probably cost me somewhere in the region of £60. Well, that's the price of one video game today. And actually, if you look at the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware and the games there, and you look at what they're thinking Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to cost, maybe somewhere in the region of $80 to $100. Playing these games from 20 years ago actually is pretty good value for money. So I'm looking forward to seeing actually whether you can still get just as much enjoyment going back and playing retro games on the Xbox 360, which I feel is probably the last console of its type that we will ever see. Right, that's enough from me for now. Thanks for watching the channel. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I look forward to seeing you all soon watching me play some games on the Xbox 360. Bye for now.